What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Unapologetically Black Male, where we talk about surviving the stigmas, standards, and systems. Once again, my name is Dwayne Pate, my co-host, Brother EJ Stewart. We want to give a shout out to our sponsor, J. Pope and Associates, and just thank you for tuning in today for another episode of Unapologetically Black Male. This podcast is designed to highlight the stories of African American men and how they reach their level of success, and understanding that success is different for each one of us. And we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different stories, but we all have a common goal, and that's we have a purpose for this life. So I'm thankful that we have another great guest on today, Brother ML Brown, and we're going to really turn it over to him, and we'll give all the other preliminaries out the way at the end. Let me follow us on all social media outlets, all that good stuff, yada, yada, yada. You know what it is. So I want to turn it over to Brother ML and let him kind of give a little bit about himself, a background, and then we'll kind of chime in as we see fit. All right?
Say less. How's everybody doing? First off, I want to thank both of y'all for having me on the show. Definitely something that's needed. So my name is ML, 31, be 32 in March. Currently, I work as a psychiatric nurse in a state hospital in the state of Pennsylvania. Aside from that, big into philanthropy, big into helping the community, doing things of that nature. But most importantly, while I'm on this show, while I'm here is to tell my story. So I am a Black male living with bipolar disorder, living with severe anxiety, depression, PTSD, and intermittent explosive disorder. So what that means is, basically, I go through patterns, I go through waves where I could be euphoric, which is called mania, or I could be very down, very sad, which is called depression. What I have is something that is very atypical, which means it doesn't happen a lot. It's called rapid cycling. So that means where a normal person could do 3-4 months, maybe a year of either manic or being depressive, I go through 2-3 week cycles. So in a month, you can see me up, you can see me down. It all flows like that. I have severe panic attacks, like I said, with the anxiety. The panic attacks I have are debilitating. So when I get overwhelmed, when I feel like my world is crashing in, it's kind of like if you've ever seen like that SpongeBob meme where everything is like circling around. That's how it is. Like I'm in the corner. I can't do anything. I just have to literally let it pass. And I think that what I've noticed from sharing my story is that so many other people go through this and no one talks about it. No one talks about it. No one says anything. Probably about 5-6 months ago, I dropped a video on Instagram where I got into this. I talked about it. And so many people hit me up saying like, I deal with this too, or I have this, or I have that, or I never knew anyone else had that. And that reassured me, because my thing always was, if I can reach one person, I'm cool. If I can reach one person, then one person feels like they have someone they confide in. That's what you need. Because to be honest, I never felt like I had anybody to confide in, and that was my main thing. Like I felt like and no one else had these issues. Like to be completely honest, I felt like it was a Caucasian thing. Like it was a thing that Black people, we don't go through this. Like we don't have these issues. If we do have these issues, we don't talk about them. Like another big thing that I kind of dealt with, which is why it took me a while to actually even get help. Is because in our culture, we don't do this. Like we don't talk about it. We don't recognize it. We kind of sweep under the rug. You're supposed to go pray about it, or you're supposed to just do anything but get your treatment, anything but do that. Like, because our ecosystem in our culture is set up to where we are supposed to be self-sufficient. Like, how dare you have to go outsource to a therapist, or have to do this, or have to do that, or the biggest thing, how dare you have to tell our family business, have to tell what's going on, have to tell why you have trauma, to tell why you have PTSD, you putting our dirty laundry out, things like that. So it's so many things that are ingrained in us as Black men that kind of it's counterproductive to where we're trying to go, how we're trying to grow, and how we're trying to elevate. So that's my story. Again, like I said, I've learned within these last couple months to kind of get away from saying that I'm struggling with or I'm suffering with, and instead say I'm pushing through. Like I'm pushing through mental health. I'm pushing through these mental health disorders to be the best me I can be.
I appreciate that, man.
Man, you just come out the gate just dropping bombs.
I don't waste no time.
Just come, man. I want to applaud you for just kind of your vulnerability, just in sharing that, because oftentimes we don't take time to celebrate each other, just kind of applaud, because it takes a lot to kind of admit that. And just kind of really talk about what you experience on a day-to-day, on a week-to-week basis. So I want to, before we get into anything, I just want to applaud you for kind of your willingness to share and your vulnerability to kind of let us in a little bit on, how you're able to manage with everything, and just kind of eliminate some of them stigmas, like we talk about, eliminate some of those systems that we kind of put in place from our family structures, that we almost got to be the one to say, like, this is it. We can't let this keep going on with us. So I want to thank you for that. But I also want to get back to, the whole dealing with everything. Like, what age did you realize that you was dealing with this, and like it really came to like, all right, this is what it is. Like, at what point, like what kind of led you to get to that point?
So I'm gonna say probably between my junior and senior year of high school, when I was gearing up to try to decide what I was going to do. Like, am I going to go to college? Am I going to join the military? Like, am I going to stay home? Like, what am I going to do? And I just remember being so anxious, but not knowing that I was having anxiety. Like, I'm trying to take my SATs. I'm shaking. I can't do it. I can't focus. I go to take my ACTs because I didn't like my SAT scores. I run into the same thing. But in my mind, I'm just like, it's just nerves. It's just nerves. But that, that's not what it was. I end up, being able to push through things. Ended up going to Delaware State University. While I'm there, I excel. I do what I got to do. I've become a member of the proudest fraternity in the world, the best, the brightest. I do all that. Alpha Phi Alpha.
You're not gonna get no arguments on this podcast.
Oh, no.
I know that, brother.
No.
I already know. I'm plugging this in. I'm plugging it in. So I do, I get there, and that's when other things start to manifest, right? So I start realizing that when I walk past certain things, I have to touch them. If I don't touch them 2-3 times, that I think about it all day. I think about it repeatedly. I think so. That's OCD, but I don't know that. I'm just like, all right, like I'm doing this tick. I got these ticks. I got to do this type of thing. So as I get further and further into Del State, other things start coming out. Then I realize I'm sad. Like I'm going through loss, right? So my grandmother gets sick. My grandfather gets sick. To me, honestly, to keep it 100, I never thought my grandparents were going to die. Like they just weren't supposed to die. They weren't supposed to pass. They just supposed to be there forever. So literally, you got to think so when I was at Del State, I didn't go home. Like I never went home like that unless it was like a holiday. Like I was fully into the college experience. So I leave in August. My grandmother's fine. She's good. Nothing's going on. I come back in December. She's had a stroke, right? So now this woman has done a whole 180. Like somebody that I remember like being Superwoman is now so dependent on other people, right? So that put me in a total funk. Almost my whole senior year. Like my whole senior year, I felt like I just always had a cloud. That's how I explained it to my therapist. Like I always felt like I had a cloud over my head and I just couldn't get any sunlight. Like that's all it was. I'm just in a funk. I want to say I felt like I was existing, like I wasn't living, right? So I go through that, then boom, my grandfather gets sick, right? Then I'm in a long-term relationship. That relationship ends. So it just felt like thing over thing over thing over thing. And before I knew it, like I didn't know who I was anymore. Like I wasn't me anymore. Like I was depressed. Like I said, I was going through the OCD. Then that's when my IED started, my intermittent explosive disorder. So now I'm mad, but I'm not even regular mad. I'm raging mad. Like now I'm putting holes in things. I'm kicking down things. I'm throwing things. Like I'm taking something that is really minute, but it's World War III to me. So now I'm dealing with that, right? And I'm going through all this at the same time. And then the mania hits, right? So then when I get into my manic episodes, I'm up, I'm not sleeping. So now my personal life, that's a consequence of that, because now, like I haven't slept in 3 days. I'm up, I'm hyped, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but now I can't concentrate on my job. I can't do this, I can't do that. So it just was a ever evolving cycle. So literally from my senior year in high school, which was 2007, 2008, all the way until 2019, 11 year span, I was just cycling, just going through the different cycles. with no type of help, no type of guidance, just going with the flow.
You know, it's crazy because I've known you for so long, and you know, I'm proud of you and how strong you have been without all of us knowing, because you know all of us are in the frat in that community, and just you know the college community as it is, and the HBCU community, and then as black men, you know, we didn't really have a lot of spaces or the wherewithal to even have the insight to speak about this stuff,
Right.
you know, and it just makes me reflect and just look at you and all of the things that you've done. You know, I mean, all of the times that I've cussed you out for whatever it is, I mean, even though you deserved it, but you know, it's just wild because I think we, aside from everything else as black men, I always say we live within there's a burden of black men. I forget how I coined it. There's a burden of black men that we don't even really have time to do that. You
Right.
know, people often talk about other genders and other cultures and ethnicities, or what are our own, but we don't ever get to talk about how black men are so wrapped up into responsibility that we don't even have time to get to that. As a health professional now and everything that you do, how do you even maintain time to even focus on bettering yourself?
I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, right? It's very hard, but I have adopted a principle and a saying that I cannot pour from an empty cup. That's literally the mantra that I go by now. That if I'm not good, if I'm not in a good space, I can't help anybody else, and that goes professionally, personally, through all aspects of my life. And for so long, I was scared. I was scared to tell people or to say that I needed help, right? Because and I know EJ can attest to this. Like I've always been within any circle or any clique I've been in. I've always been the person everybody went to, right? And that became my identity. Like I became like, you could always go to ML. Like ML's gonna make it work. ML's gonna do it. And I felt like by exposing this, I was losing some of my identity. Like, oh, ML's not Superman. Like he can't do it all. He has the issues too. So I was so reluctant to tell people like, look, honestly, bro, honestly, sis, I can't do that right now. Like I'm not in a good space. I'm not in a good mental space because people are used to if I call ML at 12 o'clock and say I need something, he's gonna have it to me by 12:01. Like they so used to that, you know what I mean? And it was so many times that I put other people's needs and things other people wanted on top of what I really needed to do because I felt like I had an image to maintain. Like I had an image to maintain. I've been this person for so long, you know what I mean? And for real, like I told people all the time, I'm relearning myself now. Like I'm relearning me, who I really am, because for so long I've been so worried about making sure I pleased everybody else, that everybody else was happy that I neglected myself. So you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just like a really like weird transitional period.
It's so important. You touch on it, and that was that you hit it right on the head. I mean, it's so important for black men to be selfish in a positive way. You know, think about ourselves. It's just like I told somebody, I forget what I was talking about, but like when you're in the plane and you lose the air pressure and the mask comes on, they say put your joint on first before you put it on the kids. Because it's like if we are not good, how do we then function within these systems?
Exactly.
So I mean, I definitely think it's time for you to be selfish. Talk about what you know what your upbringing was like, and kind of inform us like where you come from, and you know everything about that, if as much as you can or want to.
Yeah, no problem. So I grew up primarily between Baltimore and Harford County. Mostly in Harford County is where I was at for basically most of my primitive years, like the years that really mattered, right? So while I was there, I was raised by my mother. My father was in and out. When I say in and out, I mean he was mostly out. Like he was mostly out to where I was really raised by my mother's family. So my grandmothers, my grandfather, her two brothers, like really, they really stepped up. And I'm thankful to have them because honestly, like now, someone who's almost 32 years old, I'm just now realizing I'm in that weird transitional period. And I'm pretty sure that y'all going through this too, where you start to realize like how much your mother and other people really sacrifice for you to get where you're at. So like now I look back and I'm like, we may not have had this so I could go to camp, but she made it work. Like, you know, so it's you know, I'm kind of in a, and I was literally just with my mom this weekend, And I had to tell her, like, yo, just thank you. Like, and she's like, for what? I'm like, for everything. Like, just thank you for everything. Because, like, if it wasn't for her, it wasn't for that nucleus, I don't know. I really don't know where I would be, you know? And to be honest, my first major loss or first thing that, like, really happened was, like, my father passing away. Like, you know, like, my father, he was, like, really, you know, he was into the street life. He was doing things, you know, he wasn't really supposed to be doing. He ended up, you know, coming back. Him and my mom was, you know, going through a reconciliation period. He had a heart attack. He passed away, right? So I come home from work one day. He's dead. He's dead in the living room. Like, I find him. He's dead in the living room, right? And I just remember that I just cried, right? And I remember, like, I just couldn't stop crying. I just couldn't stop crying. I was just so emotional. And, like, later when I processed it, I realized, like, I wasn't crying because I missed this man because we didn't have a bond. I was crying because I missed what we could have. Like, right now, like, as a 32-year-old man, I would love to be able to sit and talk to my dad and just reflect and be like, look, you made your mistakes, you did your stuff, and I did mine, and here we are. But it's like, you know, I cry for the opportunities that I don't have now. So, you know, and I think that was like a really, really a changing moment in my life. Like, that I had literally just come back home from living in Atlanta for about a year. And I was getting ready to go to Del State. This literally happened, I want to say May. It happened in May. I was supposed to go to Del State in August. So I went straight to Del State, like, with this fresh on me. Like I said, I never had another loss in my life until my grandparents. So it's just like, you know, and I never realized how much that really affected me, like, not having that structure and then losing that structure forever, until I started going to therapy and I just started talking, and I realized things like that are not, you know, they're not supposed to happen. You know, ideally, they're not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to go through that. And, you know, again, like I say, certain things in our culture, we're just used to having it. It's just supposed to happen. And just because it's normal doesn't mean it's right.
Absolutely. That I'm glad EJ kind of asked you about your background, because, you know, that's kind of like a pivotal part, especially the part with your dad, just kind of processing that. And I know it probably, you know, you really didn't effectively, you know, because back, you know, you was trying to figure it out, so you probably really ain't effectively process it until you start going to therapy. Exactly. Now how I guess did you how I guess long ago did you begin therapy?
So I'm about a year into therapy, literally.
Okay.
I'm about a year. Yeah, I'm very, you know, I'm very new to, and I want to say that I'm a year into, like, official therapy. Like, I have a licensed clinician.
Gotcha.
Like, really, you know, who's really working with me, and I'm really doing things, you know, the way that it should be done. I'm really someone who's non-biased, who doesn't know me from anybody, who just can listen and give me the feedback.
Okay, cool. That's good. So how has that played a part in your professional career? Because
the same thing.
That's a big part, because dealing with all that you're dealing with, and, you know, still having a functional career per se,
So
and having
that's really where I struggle at. That's really where I struggle still to this day, because I'm a mental health nurse. So I'm the person that people come to. Like, when they having issues, when something's going on, I'm giving them their medication regimen. I'm talking to them. I'm working with them. And now I'm on the other side of that table. Somebody's doing that for me. And that was like the hardest part, was the reversal of roles, you know, to realize, like, you know, and I'm not going to lie, when I first started, I had a major power struggle. Like, you know, my psychiatrist saying this, and I'm giving feedback, like, well, I don't know. And he straight up told me, he's like, look, he was like, for this to work, you have to be vulnerable, and you have to be willing to listen and be open. Like, and it did. Honestly, I had to, because I was still looking at it like, I'm ML the nurse, I'm ML, you know, the program manager, like, not ML the client who is getting the services that he needed. And you know, and that was really the biggest issue, like, professionally, because I'm so used to being on the other side of that table. So to look, and, you know, and it kind of was a humbling experience, because, you know, it made me realize, you know, even though I've never felt like I was superior to anyone, it made me realize, like, we all are literally one action or one step away from being somewhere else or living a whole different life. Like, it's literally one split decision, 1 second can literally just change the whole course of your life.
Talking aside from the mental health piece, what was your experience like in high school, college, going from not knowing what you wanted to do to then saying, I wanted to be a nurse? and being one of the only males in the program and that kind of thing. Because we like to cover those types of things, the stigmas
Yeah.
and things you may have faced in that realm.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first got into Del State, it was mass comm, right? I wanted to do mass comm. I grew up, I was watching WJZ, like I thought I was the next Kai Jackson. Like I was there. I wanted to do it. I was going there, like I'm not like I was like, I'm there, I'm doing it, right? I got to Del State. I'm like, I realized it really wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do that. I ended up switching to psychology. So once I got to psychology, I ended up like I got my passion. I knew, I said, this is what I want to do. This is it, right? So my senior year comes and we have a career fair at Del State, and someone's there for nursing, and they're talking about how lucrative nursing is and how you can change your fields and how you can just do so much in this field. And I'm like, all right, I'm like, well, how do I do this? Like, I'm getting ready to graduate. They told me the steps. They said, you do your sciences, you do this, right? So that next 2 years, I honed in. Did all my sciences, made sure I was ready. Ended up applying to a accelerated bachelor nursing program, right? Got into that program. It's literally me, a Caucasian counterpart, and 30 women, right? So I'm in the program, and I'm not gonna lie, that's the first time that I ever felt like imposter syndrome. Like the first time that I felt like do I really belong here? Like, am I really? And I'm listening to these people say, I graduated with a 3.9. I was going to go to medical school. I was going to do this. I was going to do that. And I'm like, look, like I didn't graduate with no high.
I don't even know how the hell I got here.
Yeah, I'm like I got a 3.1. I'm like I got the gift of gab. I made my interview work, and I got a seat. Like I'm here. Like that. You know what I mean? And it's now that I realize like you're gonna always be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Like that. That's how it goes. Doesn't matter. That person that got that 3.9 and did this and did that, they in the same room with me. Like we are equals. We're in this room. So again, like it wasn't easy. And again, like it's easy for me now to reflect on things because I've been through so much and I've seen so much and I've dealt with it that I know. But then 20, 24, 25 years old, I didn't see any of that. Like I didn't know. Like I'm just like, man, look, I'm just trying to get through this program. Hope I make it through this program. I hope I don't disappoint anybody. Because my thing was too, I got to nursing school, I told the whole world. Like I told everybody. Like I done got in all my chats. I done told everybody it's my first day. I done sent my photo ID out to everybody. So I'm like, now, I can't even slide away from the program. Like I can't even humbly just be like, all right, it's not for me. Like I gotta push through. I gotta do what I gotta do. So it's just, again, it's hard. It's hard being the only person in the room that you feel like you can really connect with. But again, what that did, I looked at it as a blessing because it prepared me. Because in this nursing profession, deal with so many people who you would never communicate with, never see any other time. Like I've gone into rooms. I'll never forget. I went into my first clinical, had an older Caucasian lady. I cleaned her up. I did everything right for her. Her daughter comes in, starts snapping. Like, why is this black male working on my mother? All everything, right? Start snapping. So that my instructor's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, it's not so much that he's black, but it's just that he's a male. My instructor like, no. It's because he's a black male. Tell the truth. You know what I mean? And that's when I realized like this doesn't stop just because it's nursing. They do not care that I'm taking care of their mother. They do not care that I just did CPR on their brother. They don't care about any of that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna deal with this for the rest of my life. That's just the cards I was dealt. You know what I mean? But what I had to realize was I can't let that change me, right? So my thing is, like I went to that woman. I said, hey, I'm sorry that you don't want me taking care of your mother. Just know I gave her the best care possible, and I went on to my next person. Like it is what it is, and that's what I realized. Like in nursing, I can't be biased. I can't be biased. If I go to give somebody CPR, I tear up on their shirt, it's a swastika on their chest. I still got to do what I got to do. Like I can't. I still got to do what I got to do, right? Like, and you know what I mean. And that's the thing. Like you gotta. It's a lot, man. It's a lot because being a black male, being a nurse, just everything. It's a lot, but man, look, I'm man enough for the job. That's how I look at it. It's the cards I was dealt, and I'm gonna do the best I can with them.
Yeah, I've always wanted to know, what it was like when you stepped in these rooms because, you're not a small guy. You got the beard, you got the tats.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I know if you came to my door, and I'm not letting you in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a and I had to not let that, because I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first started my first couple nursing jobs, it was like I was never the nurse, right? I was always the CNA, or I was the dietary aide, or I was like I could. It's no way you the nurse. You know what I mean? And I would even have black people tell me like, "Come on, man, stop playing. Like you're not the nurse. You're not the nurse." I'm like, dog, like I mean, I got to show you my badge, like all this, like stuff like that. I'm like, come on, dog. I'm like, and for real, it wasn't until I got my first, what I want to say, big boy nursing job, working at a prison, right? I got it at the prison. That's when I literally felt the most love, because they could see themselves in me. Like it was like, oh, whoa, like you a nurse? I'm like, yeah, bro, like I'm a nurse, blah blah. Like, and they was like, that's what's up, man. Like I've never seen a nurse look like me before. I mean, and that's what really always pushed me, because that's when I saw like the representation really matters. Like when they see, mind you, at that time I'm like 26, 27. Some of these people are my peers. Some of these people could be my father, you know. So they look and they just say, they like, man, this make me so proud, because like I said, I used to, you know, I was still in the mental health realm, so I'm talking to them, I'm counseling them, doing things like that, and some of them would just stop me, like, man, I just got to tell you how great this is to come in and see a black nurse behind his desk. You know what I mean? And things like that make everything I dealt with before with that woman's family and everything, it makes it worth it. It makes it worth it, because you see that, and I just think all the time, like, what if I would have saw representation? Like, I don't remember seeing black male nurses when I was growing up. I just don't. Like, I don't remember seeing it. So it's just like, you know, like now, if somebody can say, like, I've literally had people tell me, like, yo, I'm going back to nursing school. Like, I want to be a nurse. Can you help me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And that makes it worth it, because it's like, you know, I impacted them. They're going to impact 10 people, who is going to impact 20 people, and it's going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, and me and Dwayne can relate. You know, in this social work realm, you know, we were the aides, the behavior aides, the hey, I got this kid, can you, you know, we, you know what I mean? So we definitely could relate, being
Man,
minorities in the minority.
I'm still doing that now, I'm actual therapist, and I'm working in the school. Listen, I'm an actual therapist. I'm supposed to give therapeutic interventions, but when they got a young man who has an issue, that's like taking a Mr. P, I'm like, that's not my job. But then again, it's like it's not my job, but sometimes I still do it, because I understand, like, my presence means more than probably the counseling that I might give them.
Yeah, because then you got to think, it's like, if you don't do it, who is? And then, you know what I mean? And that's really what it boils down to. It's like, you know what I mean? Would I rather inconvenience myself for the greater good, or not? Because you, like, and I be thinking that too. Like, it's times at the, you know, even at my job now, they'll do codes, they'll do things like that. I be busy, like I'll be doing something else, but I'm like, nah, I need to go. Like, I need to do this. I need to be there, because it's needed. And like you said, sometimes we don't even understand how much power we just have just being in the room. We don't have to say anything. We don't have to do anything. Like, just us being there can reassure somebody, make somebody feel better, especially when you look around that room and you don't see anybody who you can identify with. You don't see anybody who you feel like has your back. And you know, you come in that room, you show your presence, you be there. It makes a world of difference.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you kind of led into the next question, because my next question was like, how do you kind of give, like, now that you have this information, you have this knowledge, and I know you kind of still early on in the journey, but besides sharing your story, what are some other avenues that you've been utilizing to kind of get the information out there and just kind of help others in this process?
So, you know, like I said, I've been a listening ear, right? I've been a listening ear, and I've let everybody know. I'm very transparent. Like, I don't know it all. I don't know it all, but I can tell you what I do know. That's what I do. Like, I can tell you what I do know. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to know it all, or to have a grasp on it, because I don't, to be completely honest. But I'm a listening ear, and I'm someone who they can confide in. That's what I said. Like, I have people who hit me up every week, like, mental health. Mental health check-in. Let's do this, and we do that. And it's, you know, it's things that are small and minute, but I look forward to that every Monday. Texting this person and saying, like, look, you know, Sunday was bad or Saturday was bad, but look, I had a great Thursday. Like, I look, you know, it's things like that. And but what I realize is little small things will eventually, you know, become major things. So, like, right now, it's just a few of us, you know, checking in, doing things like that. It could grow, it could not, but it's helping right now. So, like I say, like, I'm transparency is what I live by, right? And I think that I spent so much time being halfway transparent. Like, something happened, and I want to say like, it's because my anxiety attack, but I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say I had to work. Like I'm just gonna say I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? So like now, if something happened, I'm like, bro, I don't know if I'm gonna make this. Like I'm not feeling up to myself, and it's crazy because I expected so many people to look at it like, oh man, come on, ML, like what you mean you can't make it? But it's times I had to do that, and people like, yo, bro, take your time, do what you need to do. I know you'll be here if you want, and just getting stuff like that is just very reassuring because I spent so much time thinking like I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna lose these friends, I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna lose that because I can't show up how I was. And literally, it's times I've been places. I remember it's like a TikTok video, like a TikTok voice that it said like show a time when you was really going through something and nobody knew, right? And I just think like that was like the last like 11 years of my life. Like if I could just play that, like because I'm like it was so many times that I was going through so much, and I was just like I'm smiling, I'm making other people happy, things of that. And on the contrary, what I do now, if I need to vent to somebody, I ask them, are you in a good place? Like, are you in a good place to receive what I'm going to say? Like, I tell them straight up, like, look, what I'm saying is not light. Like, I need to really, dump my emotions out right now. Are you in a good place to get there? And I think so many times we forget to do that to people because, I could call both of y'all up and talk. I don't know what y'all going through. Like, something could have just happened to y'all. Like, and instead I'm talking about what's happening to me. Like, you know what I mean? And then you know what I mean? And then that's how things get misinterpreted and stuff like that. So I'm really, like I said, transparency, and I'm all about making sure people are in a good space when I talk to them. And since I started doing that, I've noticed that it's reciprocated. So people are asking me too, like, yo, am you in a good place? Can you talk right now? Instead of just calling and just start talking a mile a minute.
I think that I'm gonna have to write that one down.
Yes, indeed.
That's a good one right there. Are you in a good place? Because when you think about it, I mean, I can think about many times when I've called friends, like when I'm going through things. Sometimes I don't ask them what they. I don't really care what you're going through.
Right, you like, yo, I got something to tell you. Like, what's up?
Listen, I got something to tell you now. Are you listening? Or are you listening?
And
so I think that. Yeah. I think that's a great question to kind of lead off. Like, hey, are you in a good place to hear this or to bear my burdens at this point? Because that's what it really is. We just really bearing each other's burdens. And sometimes if we don't adequately address it or make sure they're in the right place, we can kind of send them down send them in a spiral that we never intended for them to go.
Right.
It's important for us as professionals to know what type of day you feeling, how you feel. Like this, sometimes I wake up, I'm like, nope. I'll send that email, roll right back over. Nope, I can't do it. You know what I mean? That's real, man. But I never really heard anyone say it that way and do it that way. So that's dope.
Because I think, and it comes from me thinking like how many times I've talked to somebody and I felt like they were short with me or they weren't really giving me their all. And then I think back like they might have just been going through something. Like they could be processing something because I think how many times like maybe they was getting ready to call me and unload and say what was going on, but now they won't because they know I have something going on. And that could have been a conversation where we could have both talked where I'm like, are you in a good place? And they're like, nah, I'm not. And I'm like, me either. Like, let's talk about it. I mean, so it kind of shuts the other person down. And again, being that person that so many people will call and talk to when I'm not in a good place, it makes you be like, all right, I'm not even going to discuss. I'm not going to say nothing. Let me handle their problems instead of mine.
So true. That's so true.
Man, that's some good stuff right there. What's the question? Are you in a good place, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
I had to practice real quick. Sometimes you hear stuff, you gotta put it, repeat it a couple times because that's something I want to make sure that I utilize. Just kind of moving forward. And I'm gonna give you credit first time. After that, after that, you know how I go.
Man, this has been wonderful, man, and definitely, I think I tried to reach out before. I don't remember if I followed through, but I knew that your story would be right in line with what we do here. And like I was telling you off air, Dwayne started this as a part of mental health awareness. And, he had the vision to just say, man, we got to give brothers a platform to tell their story. And, you went right along with it and feel right along in line, man. So I definitely want to big you up and appreciate you and your continuance of getting well to others and for others and yourself. So if you can, man, uh give us some give someone else, the next ML, some insight or some words to help them possibly better themselves or strive to do better.
Yeah, so what I would say to anybody out there who's dealing with something, whether you think it's minute or not, you have to realize that it's okay to not be okay. That is my slogan. That is my saying. Like, I preach that forever. Like, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay not to do anything about it. And you have to realize that when when you go through something and you end up changing and becoming somebody that you're not, you are affecting so many other people. You are affecting yourself, you are affecting your circle, you are affecting everything that you worked hard for, right? It's nothing wrong with saying that you need help. Like, the cowardly thing is to pretend that you're okay when you're not. I know it's a saying that says, like, if you don't get help, you will bleed on people that didn't cut you, and that's so true. Like, that saying is so true. And I just look back and I think how many times my anger was just given to people that didn't deserve it. You know what I mean? How many things I did, and it's some stuff that you would do that you just can't come back from. Like, you just can't come back from it. So it's so many things that in situations and people that I wish that me now could talk to them and really say exactly what was happening, what I was going through, and why I was acting this way, right? So again, if you're going through something, get help. Don't be ashamed. Reach out to somebody. You can reach out to me. If I'm not in a good place, I'll tell you, and you can reach out to somebody else. Like, we'll make it work. But it's never too late to start day one. It's never too late to start day one. If I wouldn't have, and again, I say this too because people in my life pushed me to go to therapy. Like, I was very against it. Like, one of my line brothers, Marcus, pushed me for it. Like, go to it. He's like, do it. You know what to do. You know to call that number on the back of your insurance card. Call it. He was like, get a list and go, right? He told me that day. I literally had an appointment scheduled by the time I left work that evening, because I knew if I didn't do it then, I wasn't going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I say all that to say it's never too late to start your day one of becoming a better you, right? And if I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't be here right now being able to preach to you, right? Or tell you what's going on, or give you insight, or learn, or more importantly, learn from you, right? Because if I wouldn't have took that step, who knows what would have been going on. So again, I want to close it with it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay not to do anything about it.
No doubt.
Man, we want to thank you again for just taking time out of your schedule to share your story and share a little bit of insight of what it means to be successful and how you're still being successful in your current day-to-day life. Just applaud you for your vulnerability and your willingness to share. And thank you again for coming on and just kind of helping us kind of embody the message of this podcast. And just kind of, being unapologetically Black and just surviving the stigmas and the standards that you have overcome to get where you are today, and that you will continue to overcome moving forward. So, definitely want to applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And again, I appreciate y'all giving me, this platform. Like I was telling EJ before, this is needed. Like, this is highly needed. One, Black men coming together just in general. And then two, discussing these topics that are not talked about, especially not amongst Black men. So, it's just, it's breaking barriers and, a lot of different ways, all towards a greater goal.
Absolutely.
Definitely, brother. We appreciate it, man. And do you got anything, any news for upcoming stuff? Just follow us and
yep. This is Unapologetically Black Male, where we talk about surviving the stigmas, standards, and systems. Once again, thank you for joining us today on another installment. Make sure that you follow us on all social media outlets, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you are, sharing this on your timeline, even if you're not a male, but you might have some male figures or individuals who you might can benefit. Just share it. Share the interview, share the commentary, and share the links that we provide underneath every podcast, just so somebody can hear this message and hear what it is that we have going on. Once again, thank you all for joining us on this week's episode of